into it, our first best of 3 of the night. Cyclops, Direwolves, two teams that have done really well for themselves into 2022, especially when there was maybe some question marks around the Cyclops team. And for Direwolves, well, less so about question marks and more so what's this team going to achieve coming into 2022 off the back of, no, not exactly the biggest 2021. And I mean, they've blown all expectations out of the water, 7-0 in the regular season in APAC South, and have obviously now booked their place over in Charlotte. They'll be on the defense first here against Cyclops. But the other thing, and I think you kind of touched on it there, Guz, is there's not as much up for stakes at the moment here this week, right? Like it's a little bit more about the prize money. It's a little bit more about the pride on the line. Less so, of course, about, there's the placing as well. But this one should be a bit more chill.
Yeah, next couple of days I sort of sit back, relax. Obviously, there's going to be an element of seriousness and teams aren't going to be fully cruise mode, but it's probably not going to be quite as stressful as particularly the last couple of weeks where teams are still fighting for their spot at the major. I think ultimately, right, you look in terms of the major and the seeding discussion, provided you're not finishing third's probably even okay. As long as you're not finishing last, honestly, you're going to be all right. Ultimately, heading over to a major, every single opponent is going to be very tricky. Now, there are a couple of teams, you look at Team BDS, Liquid, etc. You probably don't want to be playing them and don't want to seed last, but outside of that, I mean, you're going to be taking on some of the best in the world. So we can run with that discussion as much as we want and probably beat it to death over the next couple of days. But ultimately, as you mentioned, pride, being APAC, probably going to be the biggest motivator for these teams.
I think definitely as well here for Cyclops in this game, particularly the only team from APAC North to make it to the major. So there is, sort of flying the flag, if you will, for APAC North. So very keen to see how they go up against the Direwolves, a team that has been absolutely impeccable, both obviously in the regular season and in the playoffs. So, and in some ways, and don't misconstrue this, I'm still surprised at how good the Direwolves actually are. And that's in itself a good thing, because they weren't a bad team last year, but they've been able to go to absolutely new heights here in 2022. And I'm very keen to see if they can actually, maintain this throughout the year. That's kind of the next goal, right, for the Direwolves, is not just making this a one-season wonder or one-stage wonder, now being able to replicate this, stage 2, stage 3, and being able to be a formidable team in the long run. So that's the goal, and I think that's probably the goal for most APAC teams, to be honest, is finding consistency over the course of an entire calendar year. It's not easy in this region. There's always lots of ups and downs. You've even seen that with Cyclops in itself, and I think actually when you look at Cyclops, they've probably had the most consistency out of most of the APAC teams.
Yeah, even consistency globally, right? I don't know if we have many NA fans in the chat, but TSM probably the biggest example of a team that's gone on to win 6 Invitational and then not even made the major. So it goes to show that it is really tricky. And ultimately, you need to be consistent if you want to make 6 Invitational at the start of next year. That's what all these teams are fighting for. All the teams this weekend have already secured their spot at the major, so they have some points already accrued, but they'll be wanting to head over to Charlotte and earn as many as possible. Top 16 globally on the point standings will make it through to the next SI, then 4 through the open qualifiers. So a lot of different storylines converging heading into this one. In terms of the ban phase, biggest thing to note, Thatcher has made it through. That opens up this map a lot, as Dev's pointed out very nicely in the chat. Office Exhibition now, awful site. This site is going to suck upstairs once we rotate over towards it with Thatcher up. I would not want to be defending that. But it keeps things entertaining for us, right? Opens up the map a little bit and should aid in the pacing.
We'll worry about that when we get there. For now, it's Tea Room Karaoke for our first round, and it's Souffle who gets the opening pick onto Black Grey. Good start for the Direwolves. Skyscraper, generally from what we've seen of it in its short time in the map pool, has been rather defender-sided. Attacking teams have found it quite difficult to even just sort of get a decent foothold inside of the map and really just getting in. It's the first issue. You saw that there with Black Grey going down rather easily. Obviously, as you mentioned, though, with Thatcher on the board, could look to maybe make things a little bit easier for the attackers, especially Office Exhibition, but still other sites that need to be won as well. Souffle in Pantry. Getterada in delivery is close by. Doesn't spot him, doesn't find him. In fact, never mind, Souffle is very, very low. And in fact, now dead as well. That's a big one from Getterada. Now, there is a shot back, but it goes back the other way as well with Additon getting rid of ED, and Getterada gets a second in quick succession. Now 3 versus 2. Cyclops with a slight advantage here.
Now, I don't know whether to interpret this first round as sort of Cyclops and Divers clashing heads and being aggressive off site, or whether or not that is being perpetrated by the Thatcher and Cyclops are trying to play into their aggressive hand. It's obviously, we're going to get a bit more of a read on that over the next few rounds, but no doubt very aggressive by Skyscraper standards, especially so far off site. Jackie and Harambe now are isolated on the site itself, and CYCLOPS with the advantage and 50 seconds to work with. You'd have to back them in from here. Gatorada, well and truly in form. Now Harambe over towards top main.
I think when you look at the Gatorada, look at Gatorada on the Ash, for example, really sort of highlighting maybe what CYCLOPS want to achieve here is just sort of pushing in and trying to frag out these roamers or these aggressive placed defenders that the Direwolves obviously implemented in this round, because that's the goal, right? On Skyscraper, you want to probably make it difficult for the attackers to even just push in. So what's the best way in dealing with that? Maybe just swing in and rush and try and get kills and open up the map that way. And it's obviously worked very, very well here in the opening round. Don't put it wrong. Skyscraper has been very defender-sided so far in this region, and it's a great start for CYCLOPS. Courtesy of Gatorada, picking up a 3K, a good way to start here.
Now things start to get quite interesting in terms of what objectives Direwolves are going to like to hold. Do they re-attempt? I would just say that's probably the play for the second round, and that's what they will commit to. Quick replay though, again, a lot of action off-site. Gatorada open up the account for CYCLOPS. Swift double, and then able to close it out in the 3 versus 1. So it's pretty well played all round. Direwolves, will they commit once more to the roam below? Will they try and bunker down on site? I think you have to roam to some extent, right, and get aggressive. Thatcher being up is so impactful, and I mean, CYCLOPS aren't even having to lean into it as of yet, so.
So a repeat here for the Direwolves on the defense. They go to Tea Room Karaoke once again, and we'll see if they do change their approach. Not so much in the sense of do they perform a little bit better, but more so in the way they defend this, right? Maybe a little bit less pantry defense, trying to block off delivery, and maybe a little bit more on-site defense from the Direwolves. But you do that, if you do play a little bit more on-site, then it does allow CYCLOPS to push in a little bit easier.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
How was your holiday, by the way? I didn't get an opportunity. Oh, I mean, it was a holiday, right? Where were you last week again? Jake?
I was actually sick in bed with an ear infection.
Real? Oh,
It's
really?
still there. It's still here, but we push through. You know, I don't want to take 2 weeks off. I only had 1 week of annual leave, so.
You get annual leave?
You don't?
You get the perks, apparently. Well, like I said, fantastic to have you back. I really did miss you. It was quite the grind last week. You missed quite a bit though, of course. Last week we invited both Elevate and the Chiefs to the major as well. You also missed a really... Did you see my end play-by-play call for Elevate? You probably would have liked it. I'll send you the clip later. It was
yeah,
not
send
bad.
it to me. I'll watch it during the break.
Probably my only good moment ever. Anyway, minute into this round, and once more, bit of action downstairs. Over towards delivery. CYCLOPS looking for this entry. Direwolves, though, they're not really playing into it themselves on the defense, not giving away these picks, instead a little bit more conservative. They actually barricaded off these positions to just slow it down a wee bit. Oh, Pika, though. Through Dragon, we'll find Suzu. That's a nice opener.
Yeah, and better there for the Direwolves to get that opening pick, right, rather than the other way around. CYCLOPS were able to get that upper hand in the opening round and converted from there, 3v2, bit of a barrage of trades, then came out the right side, whereas Direwolves now, opening pick, no trade, back, minute 20, down a player, makes it difficult on a map like Skyscraper. Especially the way the Direwolves are defending this now, a little bit more on site, so yes, CYCLOPS can push in over towards Drum. Now, obviously, that's a big pick from BlackRay. Brings it back to 4 versus 4, minute left in the round. But still, the on-site defense here from Direwolves is going to be quite a bit better.
60 seconds to go. The time management here from CYCLOPS lacking a little bit. The Gemini to scout ahead, spots 1 inside of Tea Room. 4 versus 4, but you still have to lean into Direwolves here. I don't know how CYCLOPS are going to be able to converge on towards this objective. I think Tea Room pinch is probably going to be the play, but a lot of lines of sight are already established by the defense. This might be really difficult to unravel.
Souffle does get rid of Gator, and yeah, the difficulty now has got to be ramped up. Gatorada, 4-on-1, and the Claymore from Suzu onto ED. 2 versus 2 now, and it's Pika that gets through to Gatorada. That was the big one. If Pika loses out to Gatorada there, I think CYCLOPS get off to the perfect start, but now Anaton has to play hero here. Souffle trying to avoid the flash, pushes forward over to the drum, and Anaton welcomes him with open arms. What a perfect flash.
Well, it was a 2 versus 1, but Direwolves down bad, lose out that round. That's Karaoke now fallen twice into the hands of Cyclops, and that will likely now force the rotation. A little bit of a disappointing start here on the side of the defense, but Aniton can't be faulted. Sharp shot there onto Pika, and then a perfectly placed flash, literally landing on the toes of Souffle. Couldn't have played that much better.
You could see Souffle kind of try to speed up a little bit forward there to maybe try and get in front of it just a wee bit, but perfectly placed flash and really, really well played. Not just in the end there, but the entire round from Cyclops, despite losing the opening pick. You know, they only had about a minute left on the clock, 4 versus 5 T-Room Karaoke, where Direwolves were pretty well positioned and set up defensively. That pick from Black Grey on the player in drums was probably the catalyst for that round. That was the ultimate win condition there. You get that pick without losing a player, and you're able to just push onto side a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier. And really, really good start here from Cyclops on Skyscraper. 2-0 start. T-Room Karaoke seemingly unable to be defended. Now we head over to Office Exhibition, and this is where you said before, Guz, with the Thatcher available, should make things even easier for the attackers than usual.
Yeah, I was scratching my head a little bit. Oh, okay, so they've actually repicked off the Thatcher. So they originally didn't pick it, but they did, and now they've reverted the repick. So
I saw it in the repick, and I was like, okay, they're going to go to Thatcher here, I can say this. Now they've got off it completely.
The debate.
Well, do you want to talk us through that one there, guys? Because this is something where, you know, the color caster likes to sort of touch on these things.
It really is, Xenox. Thanks for just throwing it over here. I mean, Thatcher's really important for the wall to the south. The exterior wall, it exposes so much of the site. It's a fantastic entry in to try and get the plant down. Thank you, Mandy, our observer, for highlighting this for us. With Thatcher, it's so easy to get over. That said, I mean, relegating it to a Finker works as well, especially if Mute's in play, right? You can just nade it straight off from down below to the bathroom. It's not like Electro Claws, for example, which might be a little bit trickier to clear. Good example right here as well. Again, Black Grey with that nade to try and help Aniton. So it's not the worst not having Thatcher. It just means that it can slow down things a wee bit. And if your nades aren't on point, well, ultimately you will pay the price.
Absolutely wonderful. Hopefully for Direwolves, their defense could be almost as wonderful as your analysis there, Guz. And obviously, if you had a Thatcher Aniton, you'd be able to just open this one up rather easily. In fact, incredibly easily. But they elected off of it.
That's right. They cleared it.
And they cleared it. Well, who needs a Thatcher, guys? Seriously, this is why they're the professionals, and we are just here to sit back and have a watch.
Well, I'm fairly certain they actually used it with the Golden 6, which is even more efficient, right? Means you still have 2 grenades in the pocket. So ultimately, again, if you actually nail it properly, it probably is more beneficial actually to run the Thatcher. You just run the risk of stuffing it up. But Cyclops well drilled, able to get that ball done. You can see how much pressure now is on Pika. He swings the nade though, cuts him down. It's 2 to start things up for Cyclops.
And I feel like Pika just gets himself caught in no man's land there on site, but also from that position, you're able to maybe find a pick back the other way around that bomb chassis. That's kind of what Harambe's trying to do now as well, trying to find something. Does get one. I think got greedy there, going for the elimination after getting the down. Probably should have just played off of that rather than re-swinging, re-peeking that one. Unfortunately for Harambe, greed has cost him, but the round's over anyway from that point. ED does get rid of Black Grey, and that's been quite low, but Jackie Wu falls. And now it's all up to ED and the magical gaming chair to win this one for the Direwolves. Otherwise, 3-0 start beckoning for Cyclops here as Aniton sticking that plant down. ED does get all on onto Gatorada, remembering Aniton's low and is dealt with by ED. Big launch through the wall! ED!
What? It's a hip-fire deagle. Oh my god, ED, the gaming chair buff on full display. I was finally get around on the board.
My man's got heat vision.
How close was the player on the wall? Was it actually close? Yeah, A-Gator was right on it. On that terrace wall, ED just swings.
And Guz, it was a headshot. It was a headshot. Top wall bank. Love it. Big round. That is massive, though. It was destined for a 3-0 start. Attacking 3-0 start as well, mind you, for Cyclops here on Skyscraper. But Direwolves, courtesy of ED, has been able to get on the board there with a much-needed round win. And we head to Barbecue Kitchen here for the next round. But yeah, that was a big one.
Defenders protect Protect your bombs from
Still, though, the weaknesses of that site being highlighted pretty well by CYCLOPS, just ultimately unable to close it out. And then ED with that hero play. We head over towards Barbecue now for the first time in this match. And it's a site that frequently doesn't see a whole lot of play because generally it's not in the rotation, but we will see it here. Big thing to note, especially if you haven't watched CYCLOPS before, is Aniton, top left of screen. No, that's not a meme. He will be playing the Glaz. I almost guarantee he sticks it. You ban out his one tang, he just goes on to some other operator that's just as exotic. And the Glaz, yes, most definitely not in meta. They somehow make it work. The debuff still does quite a bit of damage, and the smokes and the see-through ability can have some sort of an impact, even on entry. So we'll see how that plays out. And Direwolves, I'm sure, would be at least expecting it at some point in this game.
Yeah, and just quickly, I want to just point out here straight away, I'm seeing some comments, and it irks me a little bit. But for those wondering maybe why we're not exactly at 1,000% right now, there's not a whole lot to this game. There is not a whole lot on the line. It's not the most meaningful game. So in that sense, it's a glorified prize pool match right now between CYCLOPS and Direwolves. There's no major on the line. So let's just sit back and let's just have some fun
Gamarada
today.
with the Claymore. He jumps down. 2 minutes 20 on the board. He falls down. Oh, he's going to open up delivery. Brings out the Ash Charge. He hits it. Is he going to push?
Yeah, no.
We're going Black right now. That's the main entrance.
No, stop. No one wants that, guys. No one wants that.
Sorry.
Please.
I just wanted to add some more hype. My apologies.
More hype, mate. We need a little bit more hype. Been told.
No, you are right.
But seriously, it's let's just have some fun here. All right, come on. Jeez.
Well, Aniton's having a bit of fun. He's on the Glaz, looking through this vert angle. He's currently outside West Garden, which I think might be looking up towards Karaoke. Falls off that though, temporarily. CYCLOPS loving this window play at the moment, seeing maybe if they can find an opening. ED, hot off that 3K. He's inside of a restaurant, in a decent position. CYCLOPS not really committing to much of an entry yet.
And it's Suzu that gets the pick. Important, especially on this particular map. Now, Souffle hasn't given away his position there by shooting at the Selma. Obviously, it doesn't need to right now. Does he look to get greedy? No, not necessarily. I think he may have got droned out there as he shoots that drone. So, yeah, a little bit of information now gathered on that position. Minute 10 remaining in the round, and with CYCLOPS having that one-man advantage, still a good position to regain that 2-round difference. And Souffle, though, on the stairs, that takes out Aniton. Big play, considering that it seemed they did know his position there. And Peak gets rid of Aegator, so Direwolves now able to gain the lead in this particular 4th round. Until Suzu brings it back 2 in the round now and straight in through drums.
There is a defender inside of Geisha who can put up a bit of a final stand here. It's Jackie Wu. You know who can clutch out, and that's a great swing onto Gatorada. The trade from Suzu. A little bit late. In fact, it's too late. Jackie Wu able to escape down the hatch.
2 versus 2. I mean, how many rounds have we seen now, actually, at the start of this series that have kind of gone down to the wire? Jackie Wu watching the drop down through Kitchen and hits the headshot onto Suzu. That's diffuser down. Blackray has to make the run over and pick that up and does not have a whole lot of time. We've already seen a couple of clutches, though, in this game. But time into red time probably means it's unlikely that Blackray is going to be able to salvage this one. In fact, yeah, there's absolutely no chance whatsoever. That was a big-time shot from Jackie Wu down below through the hatch earlier. And the Direwolves have been able to bite back in the last couple of rounds now. So it's 2-2 here on Skyscraper. The major issue, though, guys, heading back to Tea Room Karaoke, which was won both times by CYCLOPS, rather convincingly as well. Direwolves will need to improve here.
Is it really a major issue? Both of these teams have already qualified.
Well, in the spirit of the game itself, in the map itself.
Oh, you were talking about the Charlotte Major in May.
No, well, look, believe it or not, it's not the Charlotte Major right now. And also, believe it or not, I don't...
Well,
okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. I hate it when teams save strats. I hate the whole notion of it. I think it's awful. I think it's stupid. Hate it. But the reality is, these teams are going to the Charlotte Major. And they're playing a game that doesn't really matter. We are going to be looking at some bare basic gameplay of Siege from these teams. The fact that we're even on Skyscraper is a little bit interesting, to be honest, because these are the kind of things you want to save for the Major, that you don't really want other teams to be able to VOD review and prep for, especially for such a big event. Now, if it's just, say, APAC regular stage going into APAC playoffs, it's a bit different. You can probably just do whatever. But for the major, that's where those top teams globally will do their homework. They will do their VOD reviews. They will look up on what you're doing, where you're doing it as well. So be mindful. Cyclops, Direwolves, you know, Chiefs, they're all going to be just bringing it back a little bit today and tomorrow.
You want to steal the fun fact, or do you want me to steal it?
Is there a fun fact? Oh, hang on, I've got a ping.
There is a fun fact.
You can take this one.
So, the lovely James Devmarter Stewart has just informed us that it has been 115 days since Direwolves have lost a match, excluding Nationals. That's not a bad little stat. That's not bad at all. That's about a third of a year.
That's
quite a duration of time.
That is a really good stat. You know what would be even a better stat to go alongside with it is like a comparison to like another team. I'm not asking James to do that. I'm really not. If you could,
I wonder who was the last team in APAC North or APAC South to do that. That's probably Cloud9 from APAC North.
Jeez, that would have been a long time ago as well.
Maybe not even. I'm not sure.
Yeah. That is a really, really good statistic, James. Well done. That's fun fact.
That's why he's on the desk. That's his perma desk.
That's why he's our analyst.
Yep.
Minute 40 left in this 5th round. 5 versus 5. Harambe. 2-4 start for Harambe. He's been doing a lot of dancing since joining this team. So that means Harambe's never lost a match since joining Direwolves. That is also intriguing statistic. Minute and a half remaining. Not a whole lot found so far. In fact, this is probably the first round that we've had on Skyscraper without an initial engagement or initial opening pick to sort of open things up. So this might make things a little bit more tricky for the Cyclops lads. Can they push into karaoke without that opening pick and without that advantage as ED? Beautifully placed Nitrocell gets rid of Blackro, and now this is where Direwolves need to just sit on site, hold their angles, hold their positions, and get the job done, but irrigated from below. This whole match has been back and forth.
Oh,
no,
Gatorada!
That was greedy.
He has been so dangerous on the Ashe in this match so far, showing that maybe Ashe is not as useless as many would probably perceive her to be in the current meta. Nonetheless, though, 4 versus 3. Can Direwolves maybe close this one out? Cyclops have been in winnable positions in the past.
A bomb has been located.
And have faltered at the final hurdle. Now with 30 seconds to go, they need to formulate an attack on towards this karaoke objective. With manpower, though, they should be able to brute force their way into one of the objectives. There is a roamer, that's Jackie Wu. Suzu cleans Jackie up. And it's fallen apart here.
I'm a little bit confused. Why is Jackie Wu roaming with like 15 seconds left when Cyclops are virtually on site? The way that Direwolves are defending T-Room Karaoke is just bizarre. Credit, though, where it is due for Cyclops. They're hitting their shots. And they are making T-Room Karaoke look far too easy right now here on Skyscraper. And that has been the difference in this first half, guys.
Well, there is still a single round to go, so we may well still see Direwolves bounce back and be able to draw it out. Exhibition room and office, though, we saw it last time. It came down, rather, to a 1 versus 3. ED, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, was able to win it out, but can't be too reliant on those sorts of players to be consistent. As we saw last time, Cyclops did a really good job in opening up the wall nice and quickly. Applied a lot of pressure in towards the defense. It was, again, just that final step where they were unable to trade out the final kill.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Well, it's pretty imperative right now for Direwolves that they win this final round of the first half. 3-3 scoreline is still going to be a very good result for Cyclops, more so than Direwolves. So already on the back foot, regardless, it's about now mitigating as much damage that has already been done, or could very well be done. Of course, if they do technically lose this series, guys, the streak does come to an end. So in all intents and purposes, I guess if you are Direwolves, there is a bit to fight for here, right? You've got that streak on the line. In fairness, I don't think that streak's going to be able to make its way through the Charlotte Major now, is it? So it's coming to an end regardless.
Oh.
Or is it? The clean sweep of the
Nothing
Major?
is impossible. Nothing is impossible. I mean, Improbable, but not impossible.
I think you just chuckled there because even just the thought of that actually being a reality is virtually impossible.
The thought of any team going flawless at the major is a little bit ridiculous. Never mind Direwolves at their first international LAN event, but you never know. Depends how good the gaming chairs are, whether or not ED will be able to perform or not.
Really good first half, though, from Cyclops. I've really enjoyed watching Gatorada push in and really clear these positions. Black Ray's only got 1 kill, but it was a very big kill. Sometimes the numbers are not all what they sort of claim to be. I mean, that 1 kill from Black Ray basically got them around in itself. Anaton's been great, so has Suzu. Good signs right now for Cyclops. That's the other thing to at least take into account with the final week here of the playoffs is taking form into the majors. You don't really want to be clean swept. You don't want to be take it down too easily. You want to be winning your games, playing well. At least if you lose, then maybe you still want to be playing well, at least at minimum. Minute and a half left here in the final round of this first half. It is 5-5. Don't be fooled by the bug, the 4 versus 5.
The wall now open. Cyclops can begin to apply some serious pressure on towards the objective. Couple of attackers lurking down below. Nades from Black Ray and Aegator might be able to have a significant impact and start swaying this round in favor of the attack. Black Ray hooks one, but it doesn't land. Aegator only has 1 left as well. The Gon 6 from down below to deal with the deployable shield as Pika actually gets the opener. The Direwolves gets aggressive over towards the breach. Thinks about re-peeking, maybe for a second. With that diffuser down on the ground though, surely Direwolves just play this smart and try and trade out late.
We've seen already a couple of times though from Direwolves that they've given up some of these early round advantages that they've been able to get for themselves. Now it's about capitalizing and really finishing strong in this round. Jakiwu low, but that's fine. You've still got the player advantage. 25 seconds remaining to close out the half, at least 3-3. Puts Direwolves in a much better position moving forward. He goes down though. Fortunately, Jakiwu does his job. Gets that trade back immediately. Now needing to block the entry here. Harambe reloading probably at an inopportune time. Doesn't matter. Shot through the wall and shot through the heart from Jakiwu. Direwolves close out the half with the round win. They won everywhere but Tea Room Karaoke. 3-3 half here in our first map of this series. Not too shabby. You definitely would give Cyclops the chocolates though, guys. I think they were the better team in that first half.
Yeah, it was certainly more convincing from Direwolves towards the back end, and I think they'll actually be quite disappointed at the way in which they started the half. Had they been able to go back in time and tidy up the first couple of rounds where they were doing probably some overly aggressive roams and dropped picks, they'd actually be in a really, really favourable position. I don't think on paper a 3-3 is awful considering Thatcher is available. Not that it really mattered because Cyclops didn't play it, but in theory, 3-3 I think it is okay. Could have been better for Direwolves, but equally Cyclops with a strong start were able to maintain that, not maintain the advantage, but at least do a decent job of evening out the half. So it does neutralise things a little bit heading into the second. Cyclops, as expected, will head over towards Karaoke for the first round. And in terms of operator selections, nothing standing out as being wildly crazy, which we're not expecting in this match, of course.
Well, the biggest thing now to sort of look at in this second half is can Direwolves replicate what Cyclops was able to achieve, especially on Tea Room Karaoke? I mean, I guess entirely on Tea Room Karaoke, because that's the only site that Cyclops were able to win. In fairness, there were a couple of other sites that Cyclops were close to getting results on, but Direwolves, to their credit, were able to sort of hold firm defensively. But this is the site to really put a large emphasis on now if you are the Direwolves, because you almost need to replicate what Cyclops actually did in that first half. And if they can do that, suddenly Direwolves look in a pretty decent position. Of course, you know, sort of remind, but when we've seen Skyscraper so far in APAC, it's been extremely defender-sided. So when you look at that 3-3 scoreline, it is pretty good for Cyclops, but you just never know what you're going to get going into that second half. Jakiwu is firing on all cylinders at the moment. 6 and 3 to start that first half. Very talented player in E5 and 4. Overall, though, rather team effort from the Direwolves, whereas Cyclops, I guess the same can be said, but they've still got Black Ray who can really get going. Only 1 of 6 in that first half. If he starts to find a bit of form in the second half, they will be very, very difficult to stop.
Entry over towards exhibition here for Direwolves, or at least that's the idea. Interestingly enough, the double wall all the way on this roam has been reinforced, but the lines of sight. Sure, they'll confirm that it is clear with a few drones. Do need to be mindful though, down below of a roam. I don't know if it's a pre-placed Nitro. It doesn't look as if it is, as Nitros are still in the pockets of Anaton and Suzu, but Black Ray's aggressed. Inside of Office, swings and gets the kill onto Jackie Wu. The trade through the breach, it's mistimed by ED. Black Ray will now ask for a bit of support from his team, or look to hold out by himself. ED pops up with the flash, taken low, and Black Ray able to escape down the hatch.
Yeah, and losing the Finker here, not ideal, especially on this map. Having those adrenal searches, absolutely massive, being able to clear out certain angles and being able to push through positions like drums, for example. You really want that extra health boost, so not ideal to lose Jackie Wu. And you've even got 2 hard breaches, right? So you could maybe afford to lose one. Ideally not the Habana, but ED over towards Terrace. Does need to be a little bit careful. Has Harambe watching in the window, though, with that diffuser as Pika droning out drums. And it is pretty clear. It should be able to push through. But down a player, 40 seconds, and only just now really opening up this wall. It is not looking good for the Direwolves.
30 seconds now remains, and Direwolves need to start thinking about how they're going to clear out some of these positions. Harambe steps up, drops Black Ray, and with the T-back wall, I think, now open, we may well see them make their way towards site. Harambe aggressors, gets that pick. Gatorada not traded, but eventually will be. Now it's a 2 versus 2. ED, Souffle. How will they get the plant down?
Well, ED just picks up the diffuser now, and Souffle clears out T-Room. It's only Alligator that's left over towards backstairs for Cyclops. Now, don't think he's in a position to stop this plant from going down. He is not. So ED will successfully get that diffuser down, stands up, almost gets taken down immediately. Had he done so, it would have forced the 1 versus 1, but now it is unlikely that Alligator clutches this 2 versus 1, unless he can force a way to get 2 1v1s. Quickly may just get that, almost got the soft wall shot. No, he misses this time. Now he's got no idea where they are. He loses all bits of information. Direwolves playing this well, not really peeking into this, not overplaying their position, and forcing Alligator to push onto site and push into site. That's when ED springs the trap. Really, really well played from Direwolves. The discipline to not swing out or to shoot through, but to play for the position to force Alligator into site. Really smart play.
Yeah, really close there from Alligator. Had he have denied the plant, yes, it obviously would have forced the 1 versus 1, but it may have actually been time. It's obviously really tricky to look at like 15 different things at once, but it would have been super close as to whether or not it would have actually denied the round from Direwolves. Either way, though, not meant to be. The shots don't quite land, and then, yeah, as I mentioned in the post, really well disciplined from the Direwolves, showing that their temperament at the moment quite strong. So a good start for them. Now I'll do Cyclops reattempt. I didn't quite see. Wait, no, they head over towards exhibition.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Again, not a huge fan of this site. Again, with Thatcher up, despite these teams just not wanting to play it anyway. But we had the discussion about nades and gone 6s, etc. Anyway. But I do like the fact that they're willing to switch things up. Way too often, across multiple leagues, we see teams just play the same site, make the same mistakes, and get punished. So I don't mind this at all.
I think the other thing as well is Cyclops would have obviously seen that first half, saw what happened to the Direwolves, and the fact that, what was it, 3 T-Room karaoke rounds were won by Cyclops. They're probably like, okay, they've won it once, let's not even bother, let's just move off-site, let's go to the other sites where, well, now the pressure's onto Cyclops. They need to be winning on these particular sites and away from T-Room karaoke. I'd say for Direwolves, they've done a tremendous job in sort of bringing this game back a little bit, because it was a rough start. First 2 rounds, going to the attacker side at Cyclops, being able to take T-Room karaoke rather convincingly, then did so for a 3rd time. So from 3-2 now to 3-4, Direwolves also then getting their own attacking round, offsetting that first half a little bit by Cyclops, puts them in a good position now. Even though they are on the attack and will have to win out on Kitchen Barbecue and Exhibition Office as they're going into here on the 8th round. Do they bring the Thatcher? The answer is no. So despite it being available and despite our DevMarter fun fact of the day, both teams not really caring for it.
0 in play for this particular round in the hands of ED. Quite the niche operator, but his cameras can gain critical information. Didn't gain that information though. I saw the outline, but obviously Pika did not. Gator makes him pay the price, and the roam downstairs for Cyclops will pay off.
Hard to make much of these opening picks. I feel like the majority of them haven't really been converted into round wins. I haven't got the full laid out stats for that, but it just, that gut feeling says it hasn't really translated to those wins. We've seen both teams be able to bring back deficits as that mute jammer does get destroyed. The Zero having its impact on display there. And generally, when you look at a map like Skyscraper as well, you know, 5 versus 4 advantage for the defenders at this point, you would almost think that that's not round one, but it puts them in a really, really good position to close out the round. But we've been seeing both of these two teams on the attack be able to continue to push forward, despite being at a disadvantage. We'll see once again if Direwolves can pull that one off. Jackie Wu has one more Adrenal Surge available, and with that, they will need to push onto site.
Quite a stark difference in the attack here compared to Cyclops. No real pressure on the main wall. Instead, a sweep to the west, and it's not working out. Suzu with the SMG. We'll clean that one up. The res, I think, from Jackie Wu, obviously shut down, and now it's Harambe and ED.
Well, ED and Harambe are both picking up kills. Now it's a 2 versus 2 with 30 seconds remaining. Now, Harambe is low, very low in fact, and has defused, so can't afford to go down, but has already found 2 kills in this round and puts the pressure onto Gatorada and Suzu here. Late in the 8th round, can they shut down Harambe? That's the big question. Can ED be the front man? No, Harambe peaks and loses his life immediately. Probably needed to wait for ED. ED goes down anyway to the SMG-11. And it is going to be a big round win for Cyclops. 4-4 is the scoreline through 8 rounds.
In this match, nice and close. Well, this map in particular, quite close. Very different approach in terms of the attack there from Direwolves. They went from karaoke side across. When we saw Cyclops attack, it was mainly all pressure from the likes of the main window and, the main wall and samurai window, etc. So that was quite intriguing to watch. Nonetheless, though, we might revisit that at a later time. We'll have to wait and see if this game gets pushed the distance. Back to barbecue we go, though. And this is a site where we're going to see probably a lot of extensions up above and delivery become quite a bit of a choke point, and Direwolves probably need to approach both of those, so we'll see how they go.
It's been a very fascinating match, though, so far from both of these two teams, without realistically showing a whole lot. Again, you know, neither of these two will want to show their full hand. You're going to be definitely saving that one for the major.
5 seconds left.
But it has still been intriguing to sort of see how they're playing this rather differently. Just in the ways that, like, Direwolves defended T-Room Karaoke versus the way Cyclops defended it, or the way that the way that Cyclops attacked Office Exhibition, and then sort of the way Cyclops were doing it as well. So it's almost like both teams have got somewhat different mindsets as the way they want to play Skyscraper, which I think is actually a really, really nice move away from what is the norm on other maps. You look at, like, you know, the likes of Cafe or Clubhouse Cars, and it's just same for both sides, especially when there's not much on the line. Both just sort of play stock standard siege. But here on this Skyscraper map, it feels like they've got 2 different ways of what they almost consider to be stock standard.
Yeah, they're basically playing their defaults, but you are right in the sense that there's more than one default, which, as I say, it doesn't really make sense, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
They're not doing anything. They're not going deep in the strat book. There's absolutely no reason to, but they're just looking to get the fundamentals down pat. And honestly, we have seen quite a few games just in the history of Siege, right? Even recently, where you don't have to do anything absolutely crazy. You just need to make sure that you're doing the basics right, and ensuring that you're playing together and the timings are down pat, all that fun stuff. And that's why we get a pretty good exhibition of that over the next couple of days. Direwolves over towards backstairs, looking to maybe get an entry. The Glaz in play, not only for Cyclops, but now Souffle. I don't think Cyclops will be too keen on peeking this. I don't know if they'll expect the Glaz, but cautious nonetheless.
I like this, though, because it's not just for the hallway, but also those holes in the wall. You can get that vision a little bit easier with the Glaz. Now, they do lose ED, though, immediately in this round. Well, halfway through this round, I should say. 5 versus 4 now. Traded back by Harambe, so a decent quick trade. Haven't really seen a whole lot of those from those opening picks. Little ring around the rosy, and it's Suzu who comes out on top. 10 and 5 now. And puts Cyclops in the driver's seat once again. Minute left. Nate gets thrown out. Can we see Souffle have an impact on that Glaz? One more smoke available for a bit of a power play there, but they lose Harambe. Suzu, 11 kills now. Jackie Wu does get one back, but then Anaton with the quick trade, and it's now down entirely to the Glaz, who cannot push past Anaton.
I mean, quite the setup we saw there from CYCLOPS, even a glimpse of it there in the final kill cam. The creative mirror plays there, actually yielding dividends, so can't fault it too much. And there was a lot of vertical pressure as well in terms of lines of sight and what rotations, etc. So I think ultimately Divers felt that they were forced into taking the top floor, and probably not the worst of calls. The way they went about it, though, kind of played into the hands, I think, of the setup there from CYCLOPS, who did a good job to hold out. And Suzu, as you've highlighted, having quite the game on a heater at the moment, and CYCLOPS on penultimate match point.
Penultimate match point, love that. That's great.
I love it every time. Well, the reason I say that is Divers, if they bring this back, round 11, the penultimate match point 5-5. Honestly, one of the most exciting rounds in any game sometimes.
Oh, I love it. Yep. Even more so probably when like in the regular season, when it's like, do you get 3 points, 2 points, 1 point? When it's 5-5, you're basically handing out a point for that one round before match points. So definitely a fun one. We do get to that 5-5 scoreline. Could we get there as well here in this first match of the series? Direwolves, well, they'll be hoping for their sake that they can improve on the round gone prior.
Well, T-Room hasn't been defended successfully once, right? We have seen it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. This is the 5th time we are going to see this site, and it has not been defended successfully once. So it's going to have to be quite the anomaly, really, for CYCLOPS to be able to get this one across the line. And I can't pinpoint exactly why that has been the case without, you know, sitting back and scrubbing through every single round. But ultimately, it probably just comes down to teams having a really good read on this objective already, which is a little bit concerning considering Skyscraper hasn't been around in comp for all that long.
I think it's just the way that it's defended, you know, especially Drum's position. Oh, hang on. Ayegator's... Oh! I thought Ayegator had a freebie there onto Harambe, but he's just reading into that one. Well, kind of what I was going to say is I think pushing through jumps is something that we've seen the majority of time from both of these two teams. And generally, when you do that, you're creating like a lot of 1v1s. And if you're the attacking team winning those 1v1s, not only are you getting that kill, but you're opening up that, you know, position to push through towards the site. So then that kind of weakens the defense overall. Not only that, but it's a site that's split, you know, one on one side, one on the other side. So sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to sort of cover both sides as well. I think there's a number of factors, but ultimately both teams have been able to attack it rather easily. Which then does kind of mean that if both are able to attack it easily, no one's really gaining much of an advantage in the end either. And then it comes down to, you know, the other sites, Exhibition Office and the Kitchen Barbecue, and how do those kind of go. And right now, those particular sites have not been won by an attacking team at all. So, bit of a contrast here. Then the comparison between both teams now is quite apparent because it's virtually the same second half as we had in the first half.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
Like trying to split hairs between these two at the moment. Gatorada keeps things close. Harambe taken down. I don't know how much of an impact he had with those exothermic charges. Elsewhere, Pika grapples inside. Transitions from backstairs in towards Barbecue. I believe there was a player towards the sushi bar that has now relocated. Anyway, Jackie with the LMG confirms that pick, and it's starting to fall apart for CYCLOPS.
Well, not entirely over. They've still got 2 Nitro Cells, and Suzu is still alive, 11-5. Great player. Has been performing very, very well. And Anaton, sneaky little off-meta sweep, able to get rid of Pika. Now, that is something we haven't really seen too much of, or at least not successfully, by the defenders on a T-Room karaoke defense. And that throws a bit of a spanner in the works now. 3 versus 3. I think the best way that Direballs could have responded to that is maybe pushing straight to site and take advantage of the 3-on-2, but a little slow to do so. And now it is fair game. 20 seconds left as well. Not a whole lot of time. Jackie Wu has also used that final adrenal surge. They need to push into site. Time is a massive factor, but it's Souffle that gets the pick onto Anaton. Now they can push in onto site. Jackie Wu loses his life. So did Souffle. It's only ED. No time at all. just slow going, guys, there by the Direwolves, and credit to Cyclops, they punish them. The Roams at semi-finals, but
they should have probably lost that game as well. Direwolves came down to 15th round in that match. Talon had the opportunity to close it out and confirm their spot at the major, losing a 1 versus 4, or a 4 versus 1 for Talon in favor. ED obviously clutching that one up. Finding ourselves now on this
It's that gaming
sideline.
chair, mate. It's that gaming chair.
Yeah. Man's cracked. Nonetheless, though, 6-4 now the scoreline, and Cyclops playing well. Has to be said, they're playing really, really well.
Yeah, I think I've been mostly impressed by Suzu, right? Because I think many people who watch Cyclops would know Black Ray, obviously one of their biggest standouts when it comes to fragging, 2-10, right? So who stands up? It's Suzu, 13-5. And I think Suzu typically is not going to be the one you would expect to fill that role. You know, the likes of Gatorada, Ayagator, and Black Ray generally going to be considered your fraggers for Cyclops. But Suzu is just, well, the one fragging out right now, 13-5, and is having a tremendous game. You know, Anaton's a great player too, and right now, it is a team effort. Black Ray's having a bit of a night off, but I think that's what makes this team so well. And every time I cast Cyclops, I think I probably reiterate it. And it's a good one to reiterate. They're just a really solid fundamental team of five players that play their role and play it well. And yeah, Gatorada, that's probably not the angle there. Blocked off by the balcony. Definitely know what he wanted to do. And Cardiac Sensor betrays him a little bit. There is Black Ray, though, of course. As soon as I mentioned maybe a bit of a slow game, gets the opening pick in this one. I will say, and I said it before, there was a kill that Black Ray got pushing into drums in the opening half. Basically won the round for Cyclops off that. And then, you know, you get an opening pick here. So sometimes, yeah, you go 3-10, but those 3 kills, if those 3 kills are in positions that matter, that could be 3 round wins. So sometimes you can pad the stats, you can get kills that don't really matter. You know, you sort of flesh out your stats, but really want the ones that sort of count.
Decent ground gained here by the Direwolves, Jackie Wu. Pauses for a brief moment before he looks to contest Dragon. Probably waiting for a bit of a pinch from the rest of the team. I have an inkling that there's a player down below and Jackie Wu considers a nade, but thinks better of it. Pass barricade in the way, dealt with by the Golden 6. So I was not rushing anything here at the moment. I do wonder if they are going to attempt to main breach on this occasion and just aid in applying a bit of pressure. Instead, they drop. They get aggressive. Souffle finds one, but Black Ray trade. Pika, though.
Oh, man.
This has taken a lot of attention away from Direwolves on the main push, but it's not the worst of results. 3-3 now the man count. 55 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, and it's been very much the same this entire match, really. Lots of trades in the mid-round. 3 versus 3s and 2 versus 2. There's the ping out, but it's too late from Gatorada. Pika just catches him off guard. Almost got traded back immediately, but able to survive just under half health. 35 seconds remaining in the round, and the Direwolves have a chance. Send this one to 6-5. Still trying to open up this balcony wall, though, and that could be massive. Harambe, the exothermic charge, gets this one open, and now there's a chance to push in and get this plant down. We'll need help elsewhere, though, and Pika could be that said help. They lose Souffle. Anaton's able to just sort of waddle around in terrace as well. There's no pressure on him.
Now 10 seconds remains, a 2 versus 2.
Oh!
But Cyclops able to confirm the map. It's an explosive finish, but a well-played map nonetheless. Cyclops with the 1-0 lead.
Oh, far too good. Really, really well played from Cyclops there on Skyscraper. Oh, Anaton with the mocking of Harambe! Can we get a replay of that? I was not expecting it.